At first glance, ChatGPT looks like one of the biggest technology successes of our time. Hundreds of millions of people are using it every day to search for information, solve problems, write content, plan trips, and even make buying decisions. But behind this massive growth, there is a serious problem that most people don't see. Running AI at this scale is incredibly expensive. Every conversation requires computing power, infrastructure, and massive amounts of data processing. And when hundreds of millions of users interact with an AI system daily, those costs quickly grow into billions of dollars. Even though millions of people are paying for premium subscriptions, the reality is that the majority of users are still using these systems for free, which means the platform has to find new ways to turn all of that attention into sustainable revenue. And this is where something very interesting begins to happen. Because when platforms need to monetize attention, they usually turn to one place: commerce. In other words, turning conversations into buying decisions. This shift is quietly transforming AI from a tool that answers questions into something much bigger: a discovery engine, and possibly the next major gateway for online shopping. For businesses that understand what is happening early, this creates a very unusual situation. A massive new discovery channel is forming before most brands even realize it exists. And the companies that learn how this system works early may gain a significant advantage before the rest of the market catches up. To understand why this shift matters, we need to look at the economics behind large AI platforms. Training and running advanced language models requires enormous computational resources. Every interaction, every response, and every generated answer relies on powerful servers operating continuously behind the scenes. Even with paid subscription tiers, the revenue generated by premium users does not fully cover the operational costs of running such a massive system. When only a small percentage of users pay for access, the majority of the platform's activity still comes from free users. And free users, while extremely valuable for growth, do not directly generate enough revenue to sustain long-term expansion. This creates a familiar challenge in the technology industry. Platforms that attract large audiences must eventually find a way to monetize that attention. Social networks solved this problem with advertising. Search engines solved it with sponsored results. Streaming platforms solved it with subscriptions and ad-supported tiers. AI platforms are now approaching that same moment. Because when hundreds of millions of people begin asking an AI system questions every day, those questions represent something incredibly valuable: intent. And intent is the foundation of every digital marketplace. For nearly 2 decades, the internet followed a very predictable pattern. When people needed information, they opened a search engine, typed a few keywords, and clicked through a list of websites. Businesses competed to appear on those result pages through search engine optimization and advertising. But conversational AI changes this behavior in a subtle yet powerful way. Instead of typing short keyword phrases, users now ask detailed questions. They describe their problems, explain their preferences, and provide context about what they are looking for. A simple search query might look like this: best wireless headphones. But a conversational request looks very different. A user might say, I need wireless headphones for running that stay secure during workouts, are sweat resistant, and cost under $100. The AI system then analyzes that context and generates a recommendation rather than just a list of links. This difference may seem small at first, but it changes the entire structure of online discovery. Instead of competing for rankings on a search page, businesses begin competing to be recommended inside the answer itself. And when recommendations replace rankings, the way brands gain visibility begins to evolve. As conversational AI becomes more integrated into everyday decision-making, a new pattern begins to appear. People are not only asking informational questions, they are also asking buying questions. Instead of searching multiple websites, users are starting to ask AI systems directly for product suggestions, comparisons, and recommendations. Questions like, what's the best laptop for video editing under $2,000? Or, what project management tool works best for small remote teams? When the AI answers these questions, it does something traditional search engines never fully did. It narrows the decision. Instead of presenting 10 possible websites, it often presents a few recommended options along with explanations for why those options fit the user's needs. This transforms AI into something closer to a guided shopping assistant. And once that assistant begins connecting recommendations directly to checkout experiences, the entire discovery journey becomes shorter. Discovery, recommendation, and purchase can happen inside the same conversation. For businesses, this means something very important. A new commerce gateway is beginning to form, and it may grow much faster than previous digital marketplaces. Let's imagine a real situation. Someone is looking for a laptop for video editing. In the past, they might open Google and search for something like best laptops for video editing. They would then compare several articles, watch YouTube reviews, and browse multiple websites before making a decision. But with conversational AI, the process is becoming different. The user might simply ask, I edit 4K videos, travel frequently, and want a lightweight laptop under $2,000. What should I buy? The AI now analyzes the request, compares multiple options, and suggests 2 or 3 specific products with reasoning. Instead of navigating dozens of pages, the decision becomes guided by the system itself. When a new discovery platform begins to emerge, the first instinct for many businesses is to apply the same strategies that worked in previous systems. They assume that if they optimize their websites the same way they did for traditional search engines, they will automatically appear inside AI responses. But conversational AI evaluates information differently. Search engines historically ranked pages using signals like keywords, backlinks, and technical SEO structure. AI systems, however, are trained to evaluate meaning and credibility across large volumes of information. Instead of asking which page ranks highest for a keyword, the system asks a different question. Which source can I confidently reference when answering the user's problem? This subtle difference changes the goal for businesses. The objective is no longer just ranking. The objective becomes citation. If an AI system trusts your content enough to reference it when forming answers, your brand becomes part of the recommendation process. If it does not recognize your authority or relevance, you simply disappear from that conversation. And in a world where decisions increasingly start with AI assistants, disappearing from those conversations means losing visibility before the customer even begins their search journey. As conversational search becomes more common, another development is quietly taking shape behind the scenes. AI platforms are beginning to connect recommendations directly to commerce systems. Instead of simply suggesting products and sending users to external websites, new technologies allow purchases to happen inside the conversation itself. Imagine asking an AI assistant for a product recommendation and receiving not only the explanation, but also the ability to complete the purchase immediately. No switching tabs, no navigating multiple websites. The entire buying journey happens within the conversation. This kind of system dramatically shortens the distance between discovery and transaction. For users, it removes friction. For businesses, it introduces an entirely new sales channel. And because this ecosystem is still developing, many brands have not yet adjusted their strategies to appear inside these recommendations, which creates a temporary advantage for companies that begin preparing early. Whenever a new distribution channel appears before the market fully understands it, the earliest participants often gain the most visibility. One of the most important factors influencing AI recommendations is structured information. AI systems rely heavily on clear, machine-readable data to understand products, services, and expertise. When information is well organized, the system can easily interpret details such as pricing, product features, availability, and user feedback. But when websites provide vague descriptions or inconsistent information, the AI struggles to confidently interpret the content. In those situations, it often chooses sources that present clearer and more structured information. This means that businesses providing detailed product data, structured descriptions, and clear explanations are far more likely to appear in AI-generated answers. The goal is not to overwhelm users with information. The goal is to present information in a way that both humans and machines can easily understand. And as AI becomes a larger part of digital discovery, the clarity of your information may become just as important as the quality of your product. To adapt to this shift, businesses need to think about visibility in 3 layers. The first layer is clarity. Your website, product descriptions, and educational content must clearly explain what you do, who you help, and why your solution matters. The second layer is credibility. AI systems evaluate authority signals across the internet. Mentions in trusted publications, expert commentary, reviews, and consistent brand presence all contribute to how trustworthy your information appears. The third layer is accessibility. Information should be structured in a way that AI systems can easily interpret. This includes structured data, organized content, and detailed product information. When these 3 elements combine, something powerful happens. Your brand becomes easier for AI systems to understand, trust, and reference when answering user questions. And when AI begins referencing your brand regularly, you gain visibility in places that traditional SEO strategies may not reach. Whenever a major shift happens in technology, established platforms rarely remain passive. They adapt. Search engines are already integrating AI capabilities into their systems. Instead of only presenting links, they are beginning to generate summarized answers, product comparisons, and recommendation-style responses. This means the traditional search experience is evolving. Instead of a page filled with links, users increasingly encounter structured answers that guide them toward specific solutions. For businesses, this signals something important. The future of discovery is likely to include both traditional search and conversational AI working side by side. Companies that understand how both systems operate will have a stronger advantage than those focusing on only one. Because regardless of which platform users choose first, the underlying principle remains the same. The platforms will prioritize the sources they trust most when forming answers. The internet has gone through several major discovery phases. In the early days, people used directories and portals to find websites. Later, search engines became the dominant gateway to information. Businesses optimized their websites so they could appear at the top of search results. Then social media platforms introduced a new form of discovery where content spreads through networks and recommendations. Now, conversational AI is introducing another layer. Instead of browsing pages or scrolling feeds, users ask questions and receive structured answers. As more AI assistants enter the market, discovery may expand beyond a single platform. Different AI systems may recommend products, services, and solutions using similar reasoning models. Some may focus on productivity. Others may specialize in research, shopping, or creative tasks, but the underlying behavior remains consistent. Users ask questions. The system analyzes context. Then it produces recommendations, which means businesses are no longer competing only for website traffic. They are competing for inclusion in AI-generated answers. This new competition changes how digital visibility works. Because when recommendations replace rankings, the value of trust, authority, and clear information increases dramatically. For small businesses, this transition may appear intimidating at first. New technology often creates the impression that only large corporations can benefit from emerging platforms. But historically, new distribution channels often create opportunities for smaller companies to compete more effectively. When search engines first emerged, Businesses that understood SEO early gained significant visibility even without massive advertising budgets. The same pattern may appear again with conversational AI. Businesses that provide clear information, helpful educational content, and strong authority signals can become trusted sources within AI responses. And when an AI assistant recommends your brand while answering a customer's question, that recommendation carries a level of credibility that traditional advertising often struggles to match. In other words, AI discovery rewards clarity and usefulness, not just size. While the full impact of AI-driven discovery will unfold over the next several years, businesses can begin preparing today. Start by reviewing how clearly your website explains your products, services, and expertise. Ensure that your information is organized, detailed, and easy for both humans and machines to interpret. Focus on creating educational content that answers real customer questions. Clear explanations, comparisons, guides, and problem-solving frameworks help AI systems understand when your brand provides useful expertise. Strengthen credibility signals by building relationships with trusted publications, industry communities, and reputable sources. And most importantly, monitor how discovery patterns evolve. Because the businesses that adapt early often gain valuable insights before the broader market reacts. When technology reshapes how people discover information, businesses that adapt early usually gain an advantage. But companies that ignore these changes often face a different outcome. They remain focused on strategies designed for older systems, while user behavior gradually shifts elsewhere. At first, the change may appear small. Traffic patterns move slowly. Customer discovery happens across new platforms. But over time, the impact becomes more visible. Brands that appear consistently in AI-generated recommendations gain recognition and trust. Meanwhile, companies that never optimize their information for AI visibility become increasingly difficult for those systems to recognize. And when recognition disappears, visibility often disappears with it, which means the real risk is not that AI replaces traditional marketing. The risk is that businesses fail to adapt their strategies as the discovery landscape evolves. At the beginning of this video, we started with a simple observation. Artificial intelligence is rapidly becoming one of the most common ways people search for information, solve problems, and make decisions online. But behind that rapid growth lies a challenge. Running AI systems at a global scale is extremely expensive. Every interaction requires computing power, infrastructure, and constant improvement of the models themselves. Platforms attracting hundreds of millions of users must eventually transform that attention into sustainable revenue. And that economic reality is quietly pushing AI beyond simple question answering. It is gradually becoming a new layer of digital discovery, a place where users explore ideas, compare options, and receive recommendations in a single conversation. For businesses, this represents an important shift in how visibility works on the internet. For many years, digital marketing focused primarily on search engines. Companies optimized websites to rank for keywords and compete for positions on search results pages. But conversational AI introduces another dimension. Instead of simply listing websites, these systems interpret questions and generate answers. And when answers become the primary interface, the sources that AI trusts most become the sources that receive visibility. In other words, businesses are no longer competing only for rankings. They are competing to become trusted references inside AI-generated answers. This does not mean traditional SEO disappears. In fact, the fundamentals of clarity, credibility, and authority remain just as important as they were before. What changes is the environment where those signals are interpreted. Search engines, conversational AI assistants, and recommendation systems are gradually forming a connected ecosystem of discovery. Users move between them naturally, depending on what they need at that moment. Sometimes they search, sometimes they ask questions, sometimes they request recommendations, And the brands that appear consistently across these environments will gradually build the strongest visibility. Every major shift in digital discovery has created opportunities like this before. When search engines first emerged, the businesses that understood SEO early gained enormous advantages before competition increased. When social media platforms expanded, creators who adopted those platforms early built audiences that later became extremely valuable. Conversational AI may represent the next phase of that evolution. The businesses that begin experimenting now, learning how these systems interpret information and recommendations, will likely adapt faster than those who wait until the environment becomes crowded. Because the goal is not simply to follow trends. The goal is to become the most helpful and trustworthy source when someone asks a question your business can answer. And in a world where discovery increasingly begins with a conversation, the brands that provide the clearest answers will earn the most visibility. Make sure to subscribe to Brand Locally for more practical strategies. I'll see you in the next video.